Hi, my name is Davin Sundick with The Catch Today, and if you want to learn how to test the limits on your shotgun, then this is absolutely the video for you. So, in parts 1 and 2 of picking the right shotgun for you, right? Now we're talking about picking the right load combination for the bird that you intend to hunt or the small game mammal that you intend to hunt, right? Like a rabbit or a jackrabbit, like a hare. But at the end of the day, there's plenty of information out there to determine what the minimum shot size is at a given range. I'm not going to go over that in this video. Quick Google searches can get you in the right ballpark, but generally speaking, 7.5 or even 9 shot will kill pretty much anything from a dove all the way up to a goose, as long as you know what range it will do it at, right? So for example, if I take a goose at 10 yards and I shoot it with 9 shot, it's gonna die. But if I take that same goose with 9 shot and I put it out to 40 yards, it's gonna laugh at the 9 shot. It'll probably even laugh at something as large as 2 shot. You might need to go up to BB shot or triple B shot to kill a goose at 40 yards. So understanding that your shot has limits, get at you there for a second, is absolutely critical. So make sure that your minimum shot size is powerful enough at the range that you expect to test it at. Once you do that, once you know that your pellet is powerful enough for a given range, you want to back that off by at least 20%. We don't want to be having a goal of shooting at our absolute maximum effective killing range, because trying to pattern that is going to be insanely difficult. I'll give you an example, right? For dove hunting, which is the opposite side of the spectrum from goose hunting, right? Killing power is not a main concern, right? A number 9 pellet will kill a dove at roughly 45 yards. Number 7.5 pellet will kill a dove at roughly 54, 55 yards. So the issue becomes patterns. So I'm not going to be shooting out at 45 yards with 9 shot or even 7.5 shot. So let's say that I really want to be able to hunt from 0 out to somewhere between 30 to 35 yards. And I want to know for sure that I'm going to be effective. Okay, well, let's test both loads. We know that both pellets are capable of doing the exact same job, right? But we just don't know which one's going to do better. So I'll hold up 2 targets. The only difference between these 2 targets are whether or not they use 9 shot or 7.5 shot. And here's the difference. One of them only has a few holes. One of them has holes all over the place. I mean, you can't see it that well, but if I hold the paper up at an angle, you can see holes are literally everywhere. So we can change the shot size, right? And this has nothing to do with how close I am. I had a goal. I tested 2 shot sizes next to each other and found that one worked better than the other. Okay, great. For small animals like doves, it's really not going to matter too much what size shot, so it's better to go smaller than larger because they're very delicate animals, and I'm going to get much better patterns. So great, it helps me out. But with something like geese, I'm going to want a larger pellet, right? I'm not going to even consider for geese a pellet any smaller than 2 shot. Now, when we're talking about larger birds, we also have to talk about the alternatives for shooting other than steel. So for example, 2 shot steel is powerful enough to kill a goose at close ranges, like 30 yards. But 2 shot or 3 shot bismuth is perfectly capable of killing geese, maybe at the same yardage or even more than the 2 shot steel. And the reason for that is because bismuth is denser than steel. So we can also change the metal that we choose to use. And I tell you what, 3 shot bismuth and 2 shot steel, while they're about the same power, one of them is going to give you a much better pattern than the other one, right? So we got to understand that pattern affects that shot size affects our total payload. and our pattern, right? So if we can choose different metals, then we'll get better patterns, right? So that's one thing to consider. Another thing is there's even another denser shot called tungsten. If you shoot pure tungsten, you can get your pattern all the way down to maybe 7.5 shot, and you can get a lot of pellets on paper. That's probably going to be the most effective way to kill geese at long distances. But it's also going to be a very expensive way to kill geese at long distances. So I'm not necessarily recommending that you shoot TSS or tungsten shot because it's insanely expensive, but it is an option on the table. So that's one way that we can get better patterns at longer ranges. But at some point in time, the only thing that's going to affect our pattern is the choke. So what happens though when you have a pellet that you know is appropriate and you don't want to go smaller than that pellet? You have a range that you think that you can reasonably kill that animal at with that pellet, and you have the tightest choke all the way down to a full choke, and you just cannot get the gun to pattern at the range that you want to pattern it at, something you might want to consider is that you're trying to get more performance out of the gun than what's possible, and you've run into a wall, right? And you need to change your strategy. You need to get closer to the birds, which oftentimes means that you may not need as large of a shot size as you originally planned for. So if you're pick your shot size based on the distance that you want to hit the birds at, and don't choose the maximum distance that your shot size is capable of. And I can't give you all the different birds and all the different capabilities of shot size and killing birds. But what I can tell you is that information is available. If you do some research and you determine that double B is great for killing geese at 40 yards, then do not change your criteria, right, down to 35 yards until you've researched what can kill a goose at 35 yards. But also, don't use the absolute maximum, right? So if you know that triple B or double B bird shot can kill geese at up to 60 yards, then you can maybe back that down to 50 yards and use 50 yards as your baseline for your absolute maximum range when you're doing your pattern testing. And then vice versa. If you determine that you can't get a good pattern with triple B at 50 yards, but you know that double B will work, try double B first. And then if you're like, you know what, I want to go even smaller than shot size, but I know that 2-shot can only kill geese out to 40 yards, then you got to change your whole strategy. You got to now look at 35 and 40 yard patterns for 2-shot. And if you're going to go down in shot size and shoot at closer ranges, consider opening up your pattern, because you're not going to need a full choke at 40 yards with 2-shot as much as you will need a full choke with double B shot out at 50 yards, right? So that's where the art of shotgun shooting comes into. So if you're at a wall and your gun is not patterning tight enough and far enough for your standards, consider hunting in closer, right? So changing your expectations with your gun's capability, changing the maximum effective range that you expect to hunt at, right? Lower that. As you lower that, find smaller shot sizes that are more appropriate for that range. Then open up the pattern to your gun to whatever you think is about as loose as you can handle and hunt within that range. And that will be one of the best ways to kill more birds. I'll tell you this much. I've been hunting this season so far with the wrong shotgun. That's what inspired this. If you watched, I guess video number 1 in this series. And I've been killing more birds because I've been hunting at closer ranges, because my gun can't handle the loads that kill birds out at longer ranges. And it's forced me to be a better shooter. So not always having a limitation on your range is bad, but go out in the field, shoot some paper, make sure you test your loads, and make sure it works good for what you plan on using it for. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.